This is Bucknuts.com, Steve Hellwagon. It is Sunday, February the 1st, and we are here one day after Ohio State's 92-82 loss at Wisconsin. We've had a little bit of time to think about that game and kind of the direction of where things are headed for the Ohio State season. The Buckeyes are now off until Thursday night when they will visit Maryland. The game is set for 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be on Fox Sports 1 on Thursday night, and then back home Sunday. They will play Michigan on Sunday at 1 o'clock on CBS. So they got a big week coming up. Would love to get 2 wins, obviously, and repay Michigan for the earlier loss up in Michigan. But today's topic is going to primarily focus on what happened against Wisconsin, what it means going forward. This game started so well. I mean, Ohio State was off to, I believe, a 17-4 lead early in the game, and everything was clicking on all cylinders. But as Ohio State had to go to the bench, and as Wisconsin finally woke up, things very quickly swung Wisconsin's direction. They went on a 22-8 run to go ahead and ended up leading by 6 points at halftime. They got the lead all the way out to, I believe, 16 points with just under 3 minutes to go. And Ohio State was never really able to mount a threat in the second half to get the lead down to a manageable number. And Wisconsin won this game kind of going away, 92-82. I mean, not as close maybe as the score indicates, to be very honest with you. I think everything kind of went awry in the first 4 minutes, even when Ohio State was off to that great start. John Mobley Jr. had hit his first 2 shots, and this is a guy who'd averaged 25 points per game over his last 4 games and had hit 4 three-pointers in each of his last 4 games, and he's getting off to a good start. Hits his first one in this game, but he picked up 2 fouls in that first 4-minute segment and had to come out of the game at that point. And again, Tyson Chapman, Ivan Jagovan, they go in. It was Devin Royal, Bruce Thornton, and Amari Bynum were with them at that point when the lead starts to kind of go the other direction. And there's a segment later on where you've got Puff Johnson, Tyson Chapman, and Colin White in the game with Bruce Thornton and Christoph Tilley. And again, things just did not go Ohio State's way during those segments when they had to go really heavily to the bench. Mobley, a tough day for him, was not able to carry over his recent success. He ended up with 9 points. He was 4 of 12 from the field and just 1 of 8 on threes. A couple of those were late when the game was already decided, just trying to see one go through the basket, but just not his day. And that was unfortunate, certainly. It brings us to Christoph Tilley. He had missed the Penn State game back on Monday due to an apparent injury that he'd suffered in practice the previous day, I guess. Tilley, listening to Ron Stokes on the radio, it sounded like they were concerned with how well he'd be able to get up and down the floor and run. So it must have been an ankle or a foot injury of some sort with Tilley, or a lower leg, who knows. But he did not look good. He did not play well, and he did not look good. He was 0 of 8 from the field, had 3 rebounds in 19 minutes, and just couldn't get anything done at either end. And struggled defending, struggled trying to score, eventually stopped shooting and was trying to throw the ball to other people. And it just was not his day either. So Ohio State, essentially playing 2 starters down in this game with Mobley in foul trouble and Tilley just unable to contribute. His backup, Ivan Jagovan, went in. He was 0 for 3 from the field. So between the 2 centers, they played 30 minutes. They had 0 points. They had 8 rebounds combined, and that's about it. So not much from the 5 position. In fact, Jake Diebler had to abandon it late in the game when they're trying to make the comeback and got an extra shooter on the court. But again, Ohio State unable to make a run. Puff Johnson, to me, came in the game there early in the first half, immediately hit a 3-pointer, and you're thinking, okay, well, maybe Puff's starting to make himself feel at home. And then he came out of the game, and I don't think he went back in until midway through the second half. It's kind of like they forgot about him, I guess. I don't know. But for a guy that went in there and made a positive contribution, kind of like Tyson Chapman did in the previous game. To me, I think Johnson deserved a little bit more of a chance. Maybe they weren't happy with some things defensively. I'm not sure. But, to me, Puff came in and shook some things up pretty quickly, but ended up back on the bench pretty quickly as well. Brings us to Tyson Chapman. What can you say about this guy? The good. He had 14 points. And he was 4 of 4 on 3-pointers. And Chapman, he played 17 minutes. So he really made his fingerprints on this game. 14 points, a career high for him, following his career high of 11 against Penn State earlier in the week. Did that in 17 minutes. Now, the bad news is he was the worst performer in terms of the plus-minus ratio that the players are graded on. In the 17 minutes he was in the game, Wisconsin outscored Ohio State by 10 points during those periods in the game. Obviously, Ohio State loses the game by 10 points, and we are certainly not pinning any or all of that on Tyson Chapman. But it was very obvious watching the game that he struggled with straight line drives directly to the basket. His guy got into the paint too many times. And also, while he was in the game, the shooters were lost. Obviously, Austin Rapp for Wisconsin, a guy that was not really heralded coming into the game, had averaged only 5 points over his previous 4 games, had 19 points, and was 5 of 6 on threes in the first half for Wisconsin, and Ohio State in its 1-3-1 zone never seemed to find Austin Rapp. So there's a couple of the defensive deficiencies that they had was in the zone. They didn't see the shooters. And then when they were in man-to-man, they got beat off the dribble and, quite honestly, weren't real strong inside the paint either. Wisconsin in this game had an advantage of 42-30 in scoring in the paint. Obviously, Ohio State's big men did not score in the paint. So it was the guards, the wings that had to get into the paint to try and score for the Buckeyes. Wisconsin took full advantage, got it inside to its big men for some points, and also was able to attack the basket. They really attacked the basket after shooting threes in the first half. They really attacked the basket in the second half. In the first half, Wisconsin had 7 threes because they were hitting them. Second half, 2 of 11 on threes, and Greg Gard made the decision to attack the basket, and Ohio State had no answer for that as Blackwell and Boyd just kept getting to the basket. That brings us to the guard competition. We thought that the guard matchup was pretty even going into this game, and that Ohio State may have had an edge at the other 3 positions. Amari Bynum, certainly a power forward, he more than held his own, 18.7 rebounds. He did a great job in this game. He was 2 of 5 on threes. I mean, there's not much more you're going to ask the freshman Amari Bynum to do in a game like this on the road. He looked like he belonged, certainly, and the TV people were certainly talking him up. So he won his matchup at the power forward. Kind of a tough day for Devin Royal, 17.6 rebounds, 5 of 13 on field goals. And again, he was cast in a position where he was left to defend in the paint against larger defenders, and it didn't work out very well, obviously, down there for him. So to me, he can play better than that. I'm not going to make a completely negative comment about his day. He worked really hard, but just didn't see a lot come out of it, I guess, perhaps. And again, 5 of 13 from the field. He was put in some tough situations shooting the ball, obviously. But back to that matchup, the guards, Nick Boyd and Blackwell for Wisconsin. You think about it going into the game, we talked about how John Blackwell and Nick Boyd against John Mobley Jr. and Bruce Thornton would be probably the matchup that decides the game, and boy was it. Boyd and Blackwell combined for 43 points and 6 assists. John Mobley Jr. and Bruce Thornton combined for 26 points and 3 assists. And that, in a nutshell, tells you pretty much everything you need to know about this game. We outlined Mobley's struggles earlier. Thornton, people are complaining that he's not being as assertive as perhaps he was earlier in the season. He got a few points late to put some window dressing on this game for himself. Got to the foul line pretty much after the game had been decided ended up with 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, he's trying everything he can. At one of the timeouts, he's yelling at his teammates, I presume about defensive accountability, because it was during a stretch where Ohio State could not stop Wisconsin. Think about it. In one stretch in the first half, probably during that 22-8 run, Wisconsin scored on 10 consecutive possessions. And you're sitting there watching the game, you're like, if they could just get a stop here. If they could just get a stop here. And if they didn't allow a field goal, they fouled somebody and put them at the foul line. So could not get a stop. And then obviously in the second half, more of the same. There was a big run in the second half for Wisconsin when they scored on 9 consecutive possessions. And again, you're thinking Ohio State is playing well enough offensively that if they could just get a stop here, just get a stop, they could cut into this lead and maybe make a late run to steal this game. But it was not meant to be. They could not get stops when they had to. And again, I think a lot of that had to do with Wisconsin's connectivity. They had 16 assists on 32 of their baskets. Ohio State only 9 assists for the game on 28 of their baskets. So that'll kind of sum it up. I think everything you need to know about what happened and why it went wrong. Ohio State, no excuses. I mean, no excuses. Hadn't played since Monday. Wisconsin had played Minnesota, I believe, on Tuesday and won that game at home. Didn't play particularly well. I think they had to rally late to win that game at home on Tuesday night. So you had a Wisconsin team that had lost to USC last weekend at home and had not played well in the Minnesota game that they won. And Ohio State was unable to take advantage of any of that during the course of this game. So where does that leave Ohio State? Obviously, at this point, now 14-7 overall with 10 games remaining and 6-5 in the Big Ten. And unfortunately for them, they've fallen all the way down to about 10th place in the Big Ten. And that's not where you want to be, obviously, because you'd be starting your Big Ten tournament on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You'd have to win maybe 5 games in 5 days to try and win it. If you're in the top 8, at least you wouldn't start until Thursday and, could have a chance to win a couple of games and get to Saturday in the semifinals. But to try and get there from Tuesday is not going to work, I don't think, even for Ohio State. So they have got to win some games here down the stretch and improve their positioning in the Big Ten. Don't want to say the season is slipping away on them. I mean, this was not a game that disqualifies them from NCAA tournament consideration. In fact, in the NCAA net, they were 37 going into the game. And today, after losing on the road to Wisconsin, who moved up from 43 to 41, or it may have been 42 to 40, one or the other, a 2-step jump for them after beating Ohio State at home. Ohio State still sitting at 37 in the net today. Now that brings us to the rest of the schedule, and I just kind of scratched some things out here. I'll hold it up to the camera, and maybe you can make it out there. But obviously, we're talking about the next game is at Maryland on Thursday night. As we talked about, they are 160 in net. Then back home with Michigan, they are number 1 in net, so that one's going to be a tough one to get. Then USC at home, number 50 in net. That's a must win. You got to win that game at home against a USC team that's been up and down all season, although they did have a big win on the road at Wisconsin this past week. Then Wisconsin at home. You got to pay these guys back. Now you know what they did to you. You've got to correct the mistakes, and you've got to win that game. Wisconsin 41 in net. Again, that's a game you've got to win at home. At Michigan State, number 11. At Iowa, number 22. Unlikely. Certainly, I always skipped over Virginia in there as well on February the 14th. Virginia is number 18 in net. That will be played on a neutral court in Nashville, Tennessee. Probably going to be more Virginia fans there. They even put the information for the game up on the screen yesterday on Fox because they're trying to sell some tickets, and Fox will be broadcasting that game on a Saturday night, February the 14th from Bridgestone Arena down in Nashville, and we're hoping to get down to that game as well. Then the closing stretch for Ohio State, Purdue at home, number 10. Purdue has struggled lately. I believe 3 straight losses for them going into today's game against Maryland at Maryland. So we'll see how they come out of that one. And then at Penn State, Penn State is number 133 in the net. Ohio State only beat them by 6 at home. Penn State played a spirited game and was in it all the way to the bitter end. Ohio State has to play much better going on the road against Penn State. And then Indiana at home, 29 in net, and huge win, double overtime on Saturday night at UCLA. Great game. If you get a chance to watch the replay on Big Ten Network, the 60-minute version, that's one that was a lot of fun to watch. In Indiana, I believe they had lost 4 or 5 games in a row. They've now won 4 or 5 games in a row on the back end of that. So they are really putting their season together for their first-year head coach, DeVries, there in Indiana. So, again, the ones that got to win, the 5 games they got to win to get to 19 wins and 11 in the Big Ten. That's Maryland, USC, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Indiana. Got to win those 5 games. Then you go on the road. You got Michigan at home, at Michigan State, at Iowa, and Purdue at home. Those seem like a tall order for this team. If they're able to jump up and beat one of those teams, it would be so huge for their resume. Only one Tier 1 win right now, and that's Northwestern, which is kind of hanging in the top 75 there. And, if they fall out of the top 75, then that would no longer be a Tier 1 win on the road for Ohio State. So they need some quality wins to boost this resume. But I think if they get to 19-12 and 11-9 in the Big Ten, I think they're in the NCAA tournament, particularly in net. If they're able to stay somewhere around 32 to 37 in net, they can have a decent enough resume to get in the game. But, the wins and losses are immaterial at this point. They got to play better. And there's no 2 ways about it. They got to take the time between now and Thursday and get this thing back where it needs to be defensively. Offensively, it feels like they're doing pretty well. Other than the poor games, obviously, for Mobley and Tilley, who have proven throughout the game that, or throughout the season, they're going to have, out of every 5 games, they're going to have 4 really good games and then maybe 1 clunker. What you did want to see was for them to both have that on the same night. And that was part of the reason, obviously, that Ohio State didn't come away with the win. But they got to do something about this defense. They've got to play with more urgency. They got to force turnovers. They got to limit the opponent to 1 shot. They got to be much stronger in the paint defensively. Jagovin and Tilley got to get back to playing at both ends. They're much better players than they showed in that game against Wisconsin, although some people say you finally played a quality team and you were exposed. So I see all sides of it. And so that's kind of my commentary for today. Again, I guess tune in Thursday night, see which Ohio State team shows up. It's kind of been up 1, down 1, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and they're running out of time for any more 3 steps back. This thing's got to be 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward going down the stretch and steal 1 or 2 of those big games against some of the higher-ranked teams, and the Buckeyes will have a much better shot of getting the NCAA for the first time since 2022. I hope you all are having a safe and happy first day of February. We're getting closer to spring. And if that groundhog sees its shadow tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we can't use 6 more weeks of this. It's like 10 degrees outside. So everybody stay warm, stay safe, and we'll be back this week with more coverage of Ohio State men's basketball.